Hello, students and families. Today we're going to be doing a project that has glue and a marker and some tissue paper. If you don't have tissue paper, that's okay. You can use construction paper, or you could just color regular white paper. You could color it and that will work too. So I happen to have some tissue paper, so I've got this to use. All right, we are going to make two versions. The first version of this is a flame. So, since we're studying firefighters, we might want to do an art project with some flames. So I could make flame shapes, and moms, dads, you could draw the flame shapes, or your kids can draw the flame shapes. It's up to you, and you can draw them however you want to draw your flames. And then I have my paper cut into strips because this really helps for us to use our finger muscles, and this is a tricky precursor to using scissors. So before you learn to use scissors to cut, sometimes it helps to learn about tearing. So you have to pinch it and then pull with one hand and push away with the other so you get little squares. And you can then take these squares and glue them on. I've got school glue, liquid school glue. If you have a glue stick, that works too. But the glue is nice because we can practice squeezing it and doing just a dot, not a lot. And we can put our paper on top so we can make our flames. Another thing you can do is if you tear your paper, you can practice using your fingers to crumple it up. And that makes it look like a flame too. So I'm going to do just a dot, not a lot of glue. And that rhyme helps a lot of kids remember just to do a little bit. So then I might pick another color and take some yellow and practice tearing the paper. And it's okay if it's not perfect. We're just working on tearing it. So you might tear it once, you might tear it twice. You can squish it up and glue it with just a dot, not a lot, to put your bits and pieces together and make some flame art. Your kids can glue them on top of each other, next to each other. They don't have to stay in the outline. They can go all over the paper, that's fine. That really what we're working on here, our goals are tearing the paper, so being able to do the tearing motion. And if your child is struggling with that, you could start by just doing a little teeny tear at the top, and you could do a few little tears to kind of get them started so they can come through and tear. We really want to work on the forward and backward for the tearing motion and not a pulling as much as possible. So you can help your kids to try and tear front and back with those two hands working together but in different directions. It seems really easy, but it's a pretty tricky thing. So as you see your kids do it, you'll see it's not as easy as you might think. Looks easy, but it's hard as they're learning. So you can take the red, you can take the yellow. If you have orange, that's another great color for flames. I might see if I tear another little piece here of red. If I put my red and yellow together, does it look like orange? Maybe a little bit, but not too much. But if I want, I could glue those together and I could put them on together. It's up to you and your child. So you can fill it up and do lots of yellow, red, orange, tearing the paper. If you're using your glue, you really want to practice just a dot, not a lot. That squeezing motion is good for building your fine muscles in your hands. And so that is our goal. So we're working on those little hand muscles in lots of different fun ways. And today it's tearing the paper. And you can use it to crumple up the paper so that way they're using their fingers in a different way. And you can use your hands to squeeze and stick some glue and stick your pieces and trying to get that on the right spot. So that is one way you could make your flame. Another thing you could try, if your child is a little older and you want to do something a little more advanced, and some of our small groups might work on both of these projects together, would be a directed drawing. So we can draw together and both show as a model and have your child also draw something with shapes that they might know. Like we could draw a house. So we could say, okay, draw a square. And they can make their square with 4 sides. Now let's put a triangle on top. Okay, here's my triangle on top. 1, 2, 3. It looks like we're making a house. I'm gonna add a rectangle for a door. Maybe I'll add a doorknob or some squares for windows. I can put plus signs in the middle if I want to make them look like they've got some window panes. And then, once you finish your directed drawing, you could also direct adding things like, oh, let's make a sun with a circle. Or let's make some grass in our drawing. Or a tree. I'll add my tree on this side. So the directed drawings can have all kinds of different elements, and you could color them in or not. But then the next thing we can do is we can say, add a story. Oh no, something happened. The house is on fire. Let's tear the paper and crumple it up and use our glue to put some fire on the house. Oh no, and we can make it into a story about how the house has a fire, and your kids can decide where to put the flames on the house. So we're still practicing that tearing, crumpling it up with your edges of your fingers, and then using the glue for little dots. So you can do tearing and crumpling and gluing till your heart's content, really. And they can put on as much or as little as they want. And you can talk about, oh no, what happens when there's a fire at a house? We could talk about how we need to call 911 to send over the firefighter. We could talk about how the firefighter comes over and the firefighter can help put out the fire with the hose. If you have some blue paper, you might want to put blue paper on top to pretend it's the water. So you can talk about the story that goes along with having some fire on our house. But we're still doing the same skill here. We made it a little bit more advanced for our older students who have some more skills, that you can do a directed drawing, but then you can still practice that tearing technique and crumpling up the paper and using just a dot of glue, because that is tricky for all younger kids to just use a little bit. They want to do big smushes with lots and lots of glue usually. So there are 2 different ways that you could do some paper tearing to make some flame art. All right, so thanks for listening with me today, and we will see you soon. Bye.